Welcome to Car Help Q&A. My name is Shari. I'm a consultant and a consumer advocate. And for this video, I'm going to be answering your car questions from the comments section. And if you want to have your question answered in a future Q&A video, just leave your question in the comments below and I'll try to answer it next time. Let's get right into it, starting with the first question. Shari, YouTube video after video are saying cars are not selling. Their reasons are mostly because of price. Have vehicle prices become so expensive that they are not selling? Are some vehicles just way overpriced? Okay, very good question, and the simple answer is yes. Vehicle sales are starting to slow down, at least for certain types of vehicles, the more expensive ones. And this is due to a number of reasons. Car prices have become incredibly high over the past few years. There's no secret about that. And this is because of manufacturers increasing the MSRP of vehicles because of shortages. Some have increased their MSRPs by as much as 20 to 30% just over the last couple of years alone. We've also had really high interest rates on financing and leasing. And there's also dealerships that are negotiating less, charging higher prices. Some are even charging huge markups on their vehicles. So all of these things have combined to result in extremely high prices of new vehicles. And the result is that more of them are starting to sit on dealer lots. And that's especially true of the more expensive high-end vehicles. So the good news is if you're in the market for a vehicle like that, you might be able to get a really good deal. For example, I recently helped one of my clients buy a brand new Acura RDX, a vehicle that has really good supply right now, and I was able to save them around $6,000 off the regular dealer price, plus they got 1.9% financing. So there are some deals out there if you look. Great question. Okay, moving on to the next one. Hello, Shari. I love your videos you put out and I enjoy the advice. While there are no perfect vehicles, my question is, what would happen if there was a car or brand who makes cars that are 100% perfect and reliable? Why isn't there a brand that has a clean reliability record? Okay, interesting question. Now, of course, there are certain car brands that make fairly reliable vehicles, certainly a lot more so than average. Certain Japanese brands stand out for that, like Toyota, Lexus, Mazda, Subaru, and Honda. But there is no vehicle brand that is 100% perfect, and there are a few reasons for that. Number one, you have vehicle complexity. New vehicles are a lot more complex than ever before, and this is because of consumers wanting more features and technology, and it's also because of emissions reasons. Manufacturers are under a lot of pressure to reduce emissions, improve fuel economy, and this has resulted in a lot of brand new car technology that is just making vehicles a lot more complicated, which leads to more problems down the road. And of course, we also have just the more basic things like, at the end of the day, automakers are businesses. They need to make a lot of money and they need to find ways to cut corners and save money when manufacturing vehicles. And this results in a lot of cost cutting, using lower quality parts sometimes, outsourcing, downsizing, and of course that has an impact on vehicle reliability as well. So although there are a few that are really good, no vehicle brand is perfect. Okay, next question. Hello, Shari. I really enjoy your videos and learn so much. Thanks so much for sharing your insights. I'm looking to buy a small car and considering a Honda Civic Hybrid or Mazda 3. In my youth, my family owned 3 Civics and I'm kind of nostalgic about it. I wanted to get a grown-up Civic, and I know you've recommended the Mazda 3, and I'm starting to learn about problems related to the CVT. Is getting a Civic with an eCVT a safer option? Would you recommend Mazda 3 despite its lower mileage than the Civic? Thank you so much. Okay, at the end of the day, both of these are fantastic vehicles. Yes, I own a Mazda 3. It's very reliable, it's well made, it drives great, I absolutely love it, but I was also considering a Honda Civic, which is also a fantastic car. You can't go wrong with either one. The Civic does not have CVT issues. For the most part, it is a very reliable car. I would not be concerned about that. And I would especially not be concerned if you're considering the new Civic Hybrid, because that has an eCVT. It's totally different, absolutely bulletproof, no issues whatsoever. Honda makes a very good hybrid system. I haven't driven the Civic Hybrid yet. I will be driving it and doing a video extremely soon, but From what I'm seeing, it seems to be a very good car, and I know that Honda has a very good hybrid system, and it's a good value. The pricing is very aggressive. So if you want to save money on fuel, that's a fantastic choice to go for. Great question. Okay, next one. Question for you, sir. Have you heard if the coming Corolla hatchback will be offered with a hybrid choice? And will it have a spare? I will have to drop a hybrid that doesn't offer a donut or full spare. Okay, there's a very strong possibility the next generation Corolla, which is going to come out in the next year or so, is going to offer a hybrid option with both the sedan and hatchback. Right now you can only get the sedan as a hybrid, but I imagine Toyota will expand that because they really are trying to offer every single model in their lineup as a hybrid. And in the future, they're probably only going to have hybrids. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. In the meantime, if you can't wait, you have the Toyota Prius, which of course is a very good hybrid vehicle and a hatchback. And you also have the Honda Civic hybrid, which is going to be available as a sedan or a hatchback. So there are some really good options out there in the meantime if you can't wait. Next question. What's your take on not having a spare tire in the CR-V hybrid? Is this a deal breaker? Okay, well, unfortunately, it's become a very common trend for new vehicles to no longer have a spare tire. Not just the CR-V hybrid, this is happening across the board with almost every manufacturer. I would imagine that now around 30 to 40% of new vehicles don't have a spare anymore. And this is because of cost-saving measures, trying to save money, reduce the weight of the vehicle to improve fuel economy. And instead what they're doing is they're putting these tire inflator kits in the trunk, or some vehicles also have run flat tires instead. I'm not a fan of either of those options. A spare tire is way better. And of course, it's a huge advantage when a vehicle does have it, but unfortunately, they're moving away from that and there's not much you can do about it. So if you want to buy a vehicle that doesn't have a spare tire, you're going to have to buy a small donut spare yourself, either aftermarket or from the dealership, and just throw it into the trunk whenever you need it for a road trip or something like that. That's really all you can do. Okay, next question. Excellent Q&A. Keep them coming. Question. What is the best and safest way to sell a vehicle privately? Okay, fantastic question. Now, selling a vehicle privately is a major hassle, something you really need to be aware of. If you're going to attempt to do it, list your vehicle on all the major online outlets. AutoTrader, Car Gurus, Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace. Put an ad on all of them. It's going to give you the best shot at finding a good buyer. You have to be prepared to talk to every single person that contacts you by email and by phone, and it's going to be a major hassle. There's going to be a lot of inquiries. A lot of people are probably going to waste your time. That's just the way it is. And if you're not prepared to deal with that, then your other good option is just to sell your car to a dealership. You can do that using an online instant cash offer tool. A lot of websites offer them. You can go to AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, Clutch.ca, and other websites like that. Just click on instant cash offer and you'll get an offer from a dealership in the real world that will buy your car right on the spot. Much easier, much more straightforward. And I would use every single instant cash offer tool there is and just go with whichever one offers you the highest amount of money. That's the best alternative if you don't want to go through the hassle of selling privately. I'll make a really detailed video about this topic in the near future because I know it's one that a lot of people have a lot of questions on. Great question. Is there anything like Carmax in Ontario, Canada? Also, when buying a used car, does the car dealer have to, by law, tell you when asked what they paid for the car you're considering buying? Interesting question. So no, there's nothing like Carmax in Ontario or anywhere in Canada. We don't have an equivalent to that. And dealerships are not required by law to tell you how much they paid for the vehicle. That would be useful information to know. But generally speaking, I would say that if a dealership is selling a used car for around, say, $30,000, they probably purchased that car in the low to mid $20,000 range. And that's pretty common for most used vehicles. There is a tool where you can find out how much a dealership paid for a brand new vehicle. It's called invoice pricing. It's something that I provide to my clients through my website, so you can learn what the dealer cost, what dealerships paid for a new vehicle, and you can compare that to the MSRP, what they're selling them for. And that gives you an idea of how much money they're making. But unfortunately, that information is not available for used vehicles. Okay, next question. I'm looking at a 7-seater SUV and I want to make a decision on a Toyota Highlander Hybrid Platinum 2024 or a Grand Highlander Hybrid Limited 2024. Which one should I buy and why? Okay, well, great choice, first of all, going with the Highlander. That's a fantastic SUV, very well made, very reliable, and the hybrid version is extremely fuel efficient and also holds its value well. That's a great vehicle to buy, whichever way you go. Both of them are fantastic. I would say to go for the regular Highlander if it has enough space for you. It's not as spacious as the Grand Highlander. The Grand Highlander is going to have a lot more interior space and a lot more cargo space. It's more practical, but it's also more expensive to buy. And because it's larger, it's a little bit more difficult to drive. It's going to use a bit more fuel. So I would just get the regular Highlander to save money if it has enough space for you. Okay, good question. Moving on to the next one. What do you think about the Mitsubishi Mirage and Mirage G4? Okay, good question. I actually don't talk about this vehicle very much on the channel. I don't have a very high opinion of it. I think the Mirage, like most Mitsubishis, is an average vehicle at best, not especially great. It doesn't have a very good safety rating, so that's a major concern for me. It doesn't drive very good. It has very little power. It's basically a type of vehicle you buy because it's brand new, it comes with a full warranty, and it's not a lot of money. But to be perfectly honest, the Mirage really isn't that much less expensive than some much better vehicles out there. I mean, for just a couple $1,000s more, you can get a basic Toyota Corolla, which is a much more substantial vehicle, drives better, has more power, has a much better safety rating, and much better reliability. So personally, I would recommend spending a little bit more to get a brand new Corolla and just forget about the Mirage. Okay, next question. I'm looking at a Subaru Outback and I'm wondering whether it's better to go with the 2.5 or the 2.4 turbo engine option. Thanks for the advice, love the channel. Okay, thank you very much. Great question. I would say, honestly, both of them are fantastic. Subaru makes excellent vehicles. The Outback is a very well-made, reliable vehicle, has a great reputation, great all-wheel drive system, and it does offer the two different engine options. I would test drive the 2.5 engine first. If you think it's okay, if it has enough power for you, go with that one. It's going to be a lot less expensive and it's perfectly fine. And it's less complicated without having the turbo, which is of course better in the long run in terms of long-term repair costs. The only time I would consider buying the turbo engine on that vehicle, it does have a lot more power. It's better suited for towing. It has a better towing capacity. And if you're going to tow on a regular basis, say 2-3 times a month, then that would be the better engine to go with. Otherwise, just get the base 2.5 engine and you should be perfectly fine. Okay, next question. I love watching your videos. I've been looking online for a 2020 Buick. I haven't heard a lot of people say anything about Buick. And I was looking at a 2020 to 2023 Buick Enclave, and I'm coming from a 2020 Nissan Altima, so on and so on. Okay. Basically, the question is about the Buick Enclave. This is not a bad vehicle, but I wouldn't say it's an especially great vehicle either. It's an average vehicle at best and more or less average when it comes to reliability and build quality. And in the long run, I wouldn't say that it would be as safe of a buy when compared to other similar size SUVs. It's more likely to have issues as it ages beyond the warranty period, and it's not going to hold its value that well. Enclaves, like other GM vehicles, they just don't have great resale value, so not necessarily the best or safest choice to go for. If you want a large 3-row SUV, something like a Toyota Highlander that I mentioned earlier would be a safer bet. Also, a Honda Pilot is a good choice. If you want something a bit more luxurious, similar to the Enclave, then a good 3-row SUV would be the Acura the Acura MDX. Great vehicle, spacious and luxurious, and very reliable. Those would be my picks over the Enclave. Okay, next question. Excellent Q&A. What do you think about the 2025 Lexus UX300? Is it worth the price? Okay, the UX. This is a vehicle I don't touch on too often. It's a very small crossover vehicle from Lexus, and it's a hybrid vehicle. Overall, it's a fantastic choice, very fuel efficient, it's luxurious, it's comfortable to drive, and the quality and reliability are phenomenal. Great vehicle. The major issue with it is that It's very small and does not have a lot of interior space. The back seats are cramped, the cargo area is really small. It really feels more like a small hatchback instead of a crossover vehicle. Now, if you're okay with that, if it has enough space for you, great choice. But for most, it's just too tiny, and the larger Lexus NX Hybrid is going to be a much more well-rounded and better choice. So ultimately, it comes out to how much space do you need? If the UX has enough space for you, it's a great vehicle. Go for it. Okay, I hope that helps. Going to the next question now. Love your show. You are gifted with a very nice, calm voice. Well, thank you very much. Here's my question. You and many others recommend leasing some questionable brands for 3, maximum 5 years. Do these cars find their deceived buyers thereafter? Thank you. Okay, so I think you're probably referring to a lot of the luxury vehicles and European brand vehicles, which I tend to recommend for leasing. And that's because these vehicles are known to be expensive to repair and generally less reliable in the long run, which makes them much better choices for leasing, owning them under the warranty period, and then return them at the end of the lease. Now, is the next buyer being deceived when they try to buy those vehicles? I wouldn't necessarily say so, no. A lot of lease returns end up being resold by new car dealers as certified pre-owned vehicles, and certified pre-owned vehicles are typically reconditioned very well, and they're typically sold with an extended warranty, so they can be pretty good buys out there. So I wouldn't say that the buyers of those vehicles are being deceived, but you have to know what you're getting into. Just like any other kind of vehicle, if they are luxury vehicles from European brands like, say, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, these types of brands, you have to be prepared to spend more money on repairs in the long run, especially if you're buying one that no longer has its warranty remaining. That's just the way it is. They're known for being expensive to repair, and as they age, the repairs are eventually going to add up. So that's the reality of buying a vehicle like that. So that brings us to the end of the Q&A. Thank you so much for all the great questions. And remember, if you want to have your question answered in a future Q&A video, just leave your question in the comments below, and I'm going to try to answer it next time. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.